run is off. Martin Richards going in with a bit of a gap here. Martin Richards leaving there is little to no follow Martin, while Martin is absolutely exceeding the I'll take you through a little bit around the criteria as well. Martin absolutely laying down a powerful run here as we get through the first part of the top 32 bracket here in Muscat. But Al-Hajari leads Martin into the second. Full speed in, Martin Richards take chase. Hajari taking an inside line, which is not what the judges want to see. Very unchaseable. Martin Richards suitably holds back a little bit, now starts to pile on the pressure. The judges want to see the lead driver at the outside of the track unless they are at that particular place right there where it's an inside clipping point. Martin Richards now piles on the pressure, takes it across the finish line and has a strong advantage after that first run. So confirmed the winner of the first battle is Martin Richards, as we suspected. Bagsy leads Mapsali as we start this particular first run. Bagsy takes the lead. Mapsali high speed as we lead into the first corner. Very inside line from chase position. Bagsy on that outside line as Mapsali over-rotates and has to back out of the drift. Now Bagsy still stays on that qualifying line. Mapsali continues the chase. Very much on the inside of the track. Bagsy is now absolutely rubbing the wall on the outside. Moving to that inside clipping point and then transitions back out again to clipping point number 4. 5 is the outer zone coming over towards the finish line, and a very, very, very strong run from Bagsy. Bagsy now in the chase position as we're about to go into the second battle and second part of the second battle. Bagsy leads off the line, nice and close to Mapsali as we enter into the first turn. Nice, strong entry from Mapsali here as Bagsy takes chase. Outside line, perfectly executed here by Mapsali, but Bagsy is only inches away from him. Coming up to the first critical transition point here. Nice wide line from Mapsali, exactly what the judges want to see. Little bit of a rotation here as we get to the inside clip, followed by the second transition. Bagsy is all over Mapsali as they come through the final right-hand bend and over the finish line. This is going to come down to the first run. And the winner is official. Steve Bagsy Biagioni takes the win and goes through. Hadidi in the 350Z leads Al-Balushi in the Mustang. So let's take off. 350Z hits the starting cone. We'll get back to that in a moment as to what that exactly means. Lead driver perfectly on that outside line. Mustang is failing to chase here. Now gets stuck into it. Hadidi is on the perfect qualifying line here as there is mostly straight lining from Balushi. Al-Balushi is failing to execute. Little bit of contact with the wall here. And Hadidi moves off track almost. I think that was 3 wheels, not 4. Again, critical here is if they move 4 wheels offline or off the track, it is an automatic 0. As we now switch them around. Al-Balushi in the Mustang takes the lead. Al-Balushi stays on the outside line. Nice and strong this time, unlike in the chase position. Nice wide line here from Al-Balushi. Coming up to the critical transitional point. Here we go. From outside to inside. Out to the wall. Clipping point 3. As we move to the inside of the track here now. Just gets his front tires over that critical line. Transitions out to clipping point 4. Now the outer zone. 4, 5, 6 and over the finish line. And we have it confirmed. Haithman Al-Hadidi does take the win in the 350Z. This is going to be a great battle. If practice and qualifying is anything to go by, look at the Altezza, how soft the suspension is from Kremens as he enters ride. Needs to go a little bit wider now as we go through the first bend. Failure to chase here a little bit, but the outside line is absolutely being kept by Kremens. Kremens now transitions across, stays where he needs to be, comes out to the second wall. Nice wide line, moves to the inside of the track now, gets his front wheels into that inner clipping zone as he transitions out to the wide outside zone 5 again. Over the finish line, and a strong lead line by Kremens. Kremens takes chase as Al-Azri takes the lead line here, nice and powerful off the line. Headlight giving a little bit of a wink here as Al-Azri charges, and very similar to Kremens here in the sense of needing to be a little bit further out to the outside part of the racetrack. Now we get out to the outside zone 1, transitions out to clipping point 2, misses clipping point 2 here, Al-Azri. Little bit of contact by the two drivers, but a very inside line. Now watch the transition here. It's going to be very difficult for Al-Azri, and he does miss that outside clipping point 5 as there's a little bit of contact from Kremens, and he spins here. Judges asking for another replay here. Now what the judges are going to be thinking about is the lead driver slowing down here, which is causing Kremens to make contact and therefore spin. And the judges have made their decision. It is Serhii Kremens does take the win. Car number 32 takes the win. Very strong performance from Ali Maqseed in qualification. Ali Maqseed takes the lead as Hamdan Khalifa does take chase. Now, very, very poor start from Khalifa in the 350Z. Maqseed taking that outside line, exactly what the judges want to see. Nice and early transition here by Maqseed. This is a great run as Khalifa pulls off the track, and that is going to be an automatic 0. Maqseed notices that there is no chase, shuts down, and again, remember, Maqseed needs to just get through the run. So in other words, if he gets 5, 6, 7 cars away, they could give him a 0. Here we go. Khalifa takes the inside line and runs nice and wide. Not as wide as in the first part of the run from Maqseed, although he is wide here. Transitions nice and early, although a little bit shallow. Is going to be pushed out towards the wall here. Little bit of distance away from the wall here from Khalifa, although Maqseed now is taking a nice and conservative run here. He's staying within distance, exactly what he needs to do. Not too close, not too far away, and that should be a very easy decision for the judges here. And it is confirmed. Ali Maqseed takes run number 5 and goes into the top 16. Corvette taking the lead against S15 Rocket Bunny. Here we go. Let's take chase. Shabab takes a very nice wide outside line in the Corvette. Exactly what we're going to see. Hamdan in the S15 now is staying a little bit too far away. The judges are going to want to see him closer, exactly as he's doing there, but over-rotates as he comes in towards clipping point 2 and the second wall. Shabab is doing everything he needs to do in the Corvette. Ooh, dips a wheel off the outside line. Now, when it comes to the outside line for the judges, of course, a wheel off track is bad. Let's go. Send them off the start line as Hamdan takes lead. Mohammed Hamdan in the S15. Nice wide initiation. Nice from Shabab as well. Wide is exactly what Hamdan needs to do now. He needs to pull away a gap while staying wide through the first outer zone into clipping point 2 now, out towards the wall. Little bit close on the wall here, pulls away a little bit too soon. Is going to be compromised a little bit going through clipping point 1 now, outside to clipping point 5 as that final outer zone. Very, very little in it between the two of them, although I will say the chase run in this particular part here is strong. Mohamed Shabab takes the win. Benedictus Sirba against Rabi Al-Wahar. Now, here we go. Sirba takes the lead in the BMW. Nice bright yellow color, nice wide outside line, exactly what we want to see. Ooh, 2 wheels off track here as we have failure to chase from Alawar. Alawar does have some mechanical difficulties with the car. Look at the back end of that E46 BMW M3. A lot of damage at the back of that car. Had a heavy wall impact in practice before we went out for the top 32 here today, and is clearly having some difficulties with that car. And we're off. Alawar takes a strong lead here, enters early, enters wide, comes out of that outside zone though, having some difficulties here as Sirba is being led off track. Now, we'll revert to that in a moment. There is an element there that is okay for Sirba as he's following the lead driver. Nice wide line now from Alawar as the car seems to be working for him. He misses that inner clipping point, comes out to clipping point 5 now. Here's one of the areas that he had an impact with the wall earlier on, and also had a very heavy impact with the finish wall there, and again hits that wall very, very hard. Benedict Da Silva does take the win and goes through Al-Habali in the 350Z. Now, I was very, very impressed by his driving. Had incredibly entries, but had an impact yesterday, heavy impact with the wall in turn 1. Let's see here. Solomon takes the lead against Al-Habali. Nice close chasing here from Al-Habali. Also, Solomon taking that perfect outside line. Habali now moving in closer. Perfect line here for the E92 and Solomon as he comes close to the wall, grazes off it. Can he come into the inside clipping point? He can. Can he transition out to the outside part of zone 5? He can. Now all he's got to do now is stay on that outside line. Very, very good chase as well. Solomon falls into that chase position as Al-Habali leads. Nice wall scrape, but puts one wheel off, now 2 wheels off track. He needs to get back on circuit very, very quickly. He does pull it back on again, but remember, that's going to be a penalisation from the judges. Now, big rotation here as he comes out to the second wall. Can Al-Habali come into the inside clipping point, does just put a wheel into it. Nice wide transition out to zone 5. Stays on the line this time, does not go over. All he's got to do is get across the finish line. Now, one more time. Solomon to take the lead in the E92. Lights go green, off we go. No cones are hit. Straight line speed. Solomon takes the lead. Initiates wide, but comes in on the circuit. Now back out again and is just on the white line. I would have liked to have seen him in at the very beginning as well, but now catches up again. Oh, as he makes a correction here, loses drift, has to reinitiate again. That's going to be a mark against him as Al-Habali is absolutely all over. Oh, as there is a straighten from Solomon here, and he straight lines and goes off the track. And we're off. Lights are green. Al-Habali takes the lead. Let's see if his nerves are gone on that first wall. Feints out, enters in, stays on the inside. Again, already he's now ahead. Oh, 2 wheels off here. Again, there's going to be penalty, but remember, Solomon did not finish his lead run. So all Al-Habali has to do now, as he over-rotates ever so slightly, all he's got to do is finish that run. All you've got to do, Al-Habali, is finish your run. Get over that finish line. He's now beyond where Solomon stopped the run earlier on. He just has to get through. Solomon is pushing hard, and he makes contact. Oh, and takes off the front end of his car as the wheels get entangled. Now, and the judges have confirmed Nasser Al-Habali takes the win. Ahmad Daham will go through to the top 16, and let's sit back and watch a very, very good run here. Take note, drivers, take note, fans. This is exactly what you want to see. Outside line. Watch for that transition, full power transition to the clipping point 2, all the way out to the wall, stays by that wall. Now pulls it to the inside of the track, nice and deep into the inner clipping point 4 as he moves out to zone 5, stays on that white line the whole way on the outside. Ahmad Daham moves through to the top 16. Khalid Al-Zaid against Clint Ort. Dutch driver. Travelling all the way from the Netherlands in his S14 against a beautifully prepared E46 M3. So, Al-Zaid nice and wide on entry, stays out wide. Clint Ort is not coming out to the outside, is now gaining proximity, but still inside of the track. Al-Zaid now scraping him against that wall, does exit the wall a little bit too soon, but follows up nicely with clipping point 4. Little bit shallow coming up to clipping point 5, but is doing what he needs to do. He's staying wide. He's staying on that qualifying line. Little bit of a scrappy chase run by Clint Ort. Al-Zaid has to remain close. He's put down his good lead line. Now he has to put down a good chase line. Here we go. Clint leads strong, scrapes the wall, takes off the boot of that S14. Nice and wide, carries angle, carries speed. Al-Zaid is with him though. He's not losing him. Coming to that transition now. Clint Ort transitions nice and wide. Comes out towards that second wall. Hits it. Straightens from Al-Zaid here. Has to straighten and reinitiate again. That's going to be a heavy penalty for him as Clint Ort stays on the right-hand side and the outside of the track. Finishes strong here. Let's get a replay of that. That was a very good lead line. And it is a one more time. So here we go. Clint Ort to take chase Al Said leads them out. Nice and wide on initiation from Al Said. Nice lead line here. Clint is now closer than he was in the last battle, which is good. He's getting a little bit more seat time. Stays close on transition. Transitions right behind Al Said, which is great. Clint Ort now getting closer, getting more aggressive. Gets stuck into that pocket of the E46. Nice and wide out to clipping point 5 for Al Said as he comes across the finish line, but Clint Ort is all over him, doing exactly what he needs to do. Al Said in the chase position. Clint Ort taking the lead as he enters in very, very strong. Nice and wide from Ort. 2 wheels off here. Watch the rear of his car. He's putting 2 wheels off already. He's on the deficit. Transitions across. He's wider than Al Said was. Al Said taking out the bumpers, but he is following Clint Ort's line, so it's okay. Clint Ort getting into clip 5, out to 5. His boot falling off again as it was in the first run. I don't think this is going to be enough. This is going to be done as he takes the rear of the car off on the final part of the run. Much to my surprise, it's going to be a one more time. Lights go green, and here we go. Al Said takes the lead against Clint Ort. As we enter both, Al Said takes that lead line, nice and wide, stays on the white line, doesn't go off track, goes through the end of zone 1, is now running a better line than he was at the beginning of the day, through clip point 2, all the way through 3, inside of clipping point 4 now. Very good job, but also good job from Clint Ort here in chasing. Both drivers doing exactly what they need to do. Coming through zone 5 and over the finish line. Little bit of a straighten from Clint Ort here. Both set off. Ort enters in by the wall. Stays in clip 1. Al Said has an issue as Ort is 2 full wheels off. Almost 3 wheels off. Looking at 2 different things here as the drivers are coming through the track out to clipping point 2. Both drivers have wheels off and Ort hits the wall, takes more of the back of the car off. Very, very scrappy by both drivers. Through zone 5, all the way out to the finish. Now, let's watch this replay because there is a lot to digest. Clint Ort takes the win and goes through to the top 16. Rarowski is going to take, I think, a bit of a chunk here out of Almanji. Let's see. Already from the get-go, Rarowski is already leading. Nice and wide. Great entry for Rarowski. Look at that wide line. Perfectly on the outside, exactly where he needs to be. Oh, drops 1 or 2 wheels off, but really not a major part to play. Pulls out the wall number 2 as we have a spin for Almanji. Rarowski really, as expected, pulls out a massive gap, and there is little that Almanji can do. Here we go again. Lights are green. Almanji takes the lead. Let's see what he can do. He needs a big mistake for Rarowski. He is wide, not as wide. Oh, Rarowski almost spins out, straightens on opposite drifts here. That was the mistake that was needed by Almanji. Let us see what the judges do. So, Almanji has to finish out this run. And again, a mistake. A mistake from Rarowski. Maybe he's too much gripping. Maybe he's going too fast versus Almanji's lead line. We have Tsubasa Takizawa against Ali Al-Shaman. Now, Mark II JZX 100 against S15. The JZX 100 of Takizawa takes a nice wide outside line, carries a great line here. Very nice, very consistent. Transition through the clipping point 2. As we get the drivers right by the tower here. Inside clipping point is nailed, outside clipping point is nailed. Zone 5 here as Takizawa takes a nice lead line, does exactly what he needs to do, and across the finish line. 2 cones knocked over by Shahani. Shahani in the S15, nice wide line here. Comes out of zone 1, goes back into it again. Is he going to put some wheels off here? No. He stays within the circuit. Nice transition, puts up a lot of smoke here as he comes past the judging tower here as Takizawa has to pull back up again, otherwise he's going to hit the wall. That is the mistake that Shahani needed. Big mistake there from Takizawa. Misses clipping point 5. Is on the inside of the track here for zone 5. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Ali Al-Shahani takes the win. Ahmed Al-Amiri against Gia Arakaki. Arakaki takes the chase position in the S15. Al-Amri in the 180SX. Nice wide line here as he does exactly what he needs to. Arakaki is not... and he straightens and loses drift. Al-Amri is absolutely on a flyer here as he pulls out to the outside of cone 5. Can he keep it to the outside perimeter? He absolutely can, and across the finish line he goes. Can Al-Amri chase behind Arakaki in the S15? Arakaki takes the lead, goes down the start finish straight, enters into the first bend. Oh, pulls straight into the inside of the track, not even initiating outside of the track now. Pulls back in again out of zone 1. Transitions across, misses clipping point 2 completely, barely touching clipping point 3, missing clipping point 4 as well, coming out to clipping point 5, barely touches it at the beginning of zone 5, has to get across the finish line now as Al-Amri is all over Arakaki. Ahmed Al-Amri is your winner. So, line up, we are meant to have Andreas Vasilioskis, but we do not. We have Ali Al-Balushi, who is going to get a bye run. Vasilioskas is not here. His vehicle broke in practice this morning. He then obtained, or I believe rented a vehicle, a 370Z, which he qualified in. However, that engine, I believe, also broke. So, bye run here for Ali Al-Balushi in the S13. Now, he impressed me during practice earlier on. All he has to do is drive through, conserve his tires, conserve his car, making the smart move here, and just gains the applause from the spectators as he goes around the circuit. Now, he was incredibly quick in practice earlier on and also yesterday. Great line driving, good pace, good aggression as well. A lot of power in this car, V8 powered S13 180SX. Oh, I'm even loving the cookie lights that he's got on a very, very expensive choice there. And we're off. Shahani takes the lead line, knocks over a couple of cones here, enters into the first line. Al-Shahani, nice and wide on that first bend. Exactly what he needs to do as Al-Jabir, a little bit inconsistent here, does not follow closely and is offline. Shahani does exactly what he needs to do. Clipping point 2 is perfect, all the way out to that wall on the outside of clip 3, into inside of 4, out to zone 5 here. Again, judges score here, and over the finish line. Very, very strong run by Al-Jabir. Takes that lead line, nice and wide, but comes off of clipping point 1. Is not in zone 1, just touches into zone 1 now as Shahani comes out wide. Al-Jabir now transitions to clipping point 2, but is on the wrong line here. He goes clipping point 3 and to the inside of 4, rotates out to clipping point 5 and through zone 5, misses that though, does not touch the clipping point 5. And Al-Shahani does exactly what he needs to do. Tariq Al-Shahani does take the win. Hussein Mohammed is taking chase here, although we have an issue here off the start line. Not quite sure what's happening here, but there is a very, very strong line here for Hosani. Hosani now nice and strong on that first run. Transitions across out to clipping point 2. Very close to the wall here, has to make a correction, does scrape the wall just a little bit, goes through clipping point 4, out to zone 5, but really it's down to that start. I'd love to find out what happened at the beginning of that particular run. We are only just getting started as we send them off on the second part as we get Hussein Mohammed with the cone stuck in the car. Hosani does what he needs to do. All he's got to do is stay close. All he's got to do is stay close for this particular run. Watch them as they come through. 2 wheels off here for 2 wheels off here for Mohammed as he transitions out to zone 5. Al Hassani does what he needs to do. Proximity is there. Al Hassani does go through car number 43. The start marshal checks with both drivers. They're both ready. Lights are green. Martin Richards leads Bagsy as they go in towards the first corner. Richards initiates up against the wall, stays inside. Oh, 2 wheels off as he goes over the track and outside of the perimeters of the track. Bagsy is inches away from Richards as he falls a little bit behind now. A little bit scrappy by the 2 drivers. Bagsy falls behind a small bit. Richards is a little bit offline here, a little bit scrappy as he comes out towards zone 5. The final right-hand corner. And wow, we have a lot to talk about. 2 drivers, Bagsy ready, Richards ready. Lights go from red to green. Richards sets off early. Bagsy now leads the 2 of them into the first bend. Nice weight transfer. Bagsy is on the wall. There is contact between the 2 drivers and Richards straightens up. They're both off track. Bagsy keeps on going. They're wheel to wheel. A heavy contact there as Richards has now stopped. Martin Richards has stopped on track. Bagsy keeps on going. Car seems okay. The wheels and suspension seems to be in okay condition as he continues to finish the run. As lead car driver, he needs to finish that run. They enter in and... So, technically speaking, when we look at it from a track perspective, there is only one deceleration zone, which is at clipping point 2 in towards the second wall. That being said, as people initiate, it should be initiation to full throttle. And the chase driver, of course, is going to expect the lead driver to be on full throttle. So there is a decision in. Bagsy takes the win, and we go from red to green. We have Hadidi leading, Kremets in chase. Hadidi, nice line, nice entry. Is he outside? He is not. He is perfectly on that outside parameter. Stays exactly where he needs to do. Transitions back towards clipping point 2. Kremets on his door as Hadidi goes through clipping point 3. Kremets now falling back ever so slightly as they go through their own smoke out to clipping point 5 and scoring zone 5. Kremets is very much on the inside of the track there, but he is chasing. Hadidi does a good job across the finish line. As we send them off. Kremets to lead, nice initiation in against the wall. Hadidi is a little bit further back. Kremets started not as wide as Hadidi did in the other run, but is now staying out on that outside line, transitioning back. Hadidi almost making contact as there is an over-rotation by Kremets, and he spins out. Absolutely self-inflicted mistake. He must be kicking himself. Hadidi finishes off the run, even though he doesn't have to, sends it home, makes sure that everything is as it should be, and across the line. And it is confirmed. Haithman Al-Hadidi wins the battle. Ali Maxid to start. Shihab starts a little bit early, as he is entitled to do. Maxid takes a nice and fast entry here, stays out. Needs to come a little bit further out, and he does so. Lives on that white line for the last half of that outer zone 1. Transitions across into clipping point 2. Shihab needs to come closer now as he's a little bit far away. As they transition back again inside clipping point 4, going through their own smoke out to clipping point 5. Shihab is very much on the inside of the track. He needs to come out to Maxid as he now slowly does so. And Maxid in the GT86 puts in a solid lead run. He needs to be more aggressive than he was in his first battle. Shihab, nice weight transfer, rubs the wall on initiation. Absolutely on that line, ever so slightly off, but I think he's not going to get too penalized for that because it's very chaseable. Lovely transition back, 2 wheels off here. Maxid stays against him, very, very close proximity. Through the smoke they go. They emerge from the other side, nice and wide. Again, 1 wheel off there, maybe by Shihab, but the proximity is closer by Ali Maxid. The winner is Ali Maxid. One of the best entries by Harbali we've seen all weekend. Very aggressive on the entry, as we spoke about earlier on. Had an accident last night there, but is coming back strong now. Shirba to lead. And Harbali to chase. Very, very close. Lacking a little bit of angle, both drivers. As Harbali now tries to gain back proximity as they go through the first half of the course. Out to clipping point 3. Harbali goes a little bit too deep there, overcommits, as Shirba still stays on power, on throttle, all the way out to scoring zone 5. Takes out some cones, dips a wheel off the track, is going to get penalised ever so slightly for that as they come across the finish line. Shirba chasing, Al-Harbali leading, up against the wall, nice aggressive entry. Look at him on that line, stays on that line the entire way around. Absolutely point perfect. Al-Harbali now transitions across, great lead line, stays on track. Shirba is nice and close, but remember, it's easy to chase if that line is perfect. Transition across. Al-Harbali now nice and wide out to the outside line. Shirba there the entire time. Now, this is going to be an interesting one. The winner is Benedictus Shirba in number 38. Daham ready, Ort ready. Ort jumps that line as he's entitled to as a chase driver. Full throttle from both cars. Daham already pulling out a small gap. Nice up against the wall, scrapes that wall and lives on that white line. A little bit over, pulls it back now. Ooh, handbrake correction from Daham there. As we go through the transition, out to clipping point 2. Up against the wall. Clint pulling a nice line there to get back into proximity, but there is a bit of a gap as they go through their own smoke. Out to clipping point 5. Now, nice and wide. Clint taking that inside line to try and gain some proximity. You can see the back of his car completely missing now after the top 32 battles. It should be interesting. Daham and Clint starts at the same time. Lights are green. Off they go. Ort comes up, initiates, up against the wall. Scrapes that wall, stays inside. A little bit of straightening there from Daham, not as wide of an angle. Ort goes off track a small bit as they now come in towards the infield. Transition across the clipping point 2. Nice angle from Ort. Nice angle from Ort as Daham now gets closer in proximity. Very nice clip 3, nice and wide, and swings out to zone 5. Daham is wide critically. Remember, Ort was in the infield last time around. Very wide. And the judges have a decision, and it is one more time. Full throttle up towards the initiation point. Daham on that wall, nice and wide here. Clint Ort is literally touching and rubbing Daham, now falling apart a little bit. About 2 car lengths back now, closes back in on transition, pushes it nice and wide, stays nice and wide. Great chasing here from Clint Ort against Daham. Daham doing what he needs to do. Clint Ort dives on the inside here as he goes in deep and stays out wide as well. Doesn't pull to the inside of the circuit. Great chasing there from Clint Ort. Clint Ort to lead the 2 drivers out. Daham on close battle here. Now we go as he rubs the wall. Goes in inches apart again, but keeps that transition, keeps that proximity as opposed to Ort before. Not as much angle, but he absolutely keeps that proximity. Ort on a great line here. Nice angle here as he goes back in towards clip point 4. Nice and wide and good transition out to 5. Stays on the outside here. Daham puts a wheel off, gets a little bit low, and he hits the wall. From here, puts a wheel off. Yeah, he puts a wheel off. He hits a lot of rubble and a lot of tire debris, and he just goes off. Clint Ort must, as we see some of the damage there, yeah, the front end torn off the car of Daham. And the winner is Clint Ort. Shahani in the S15, that's right, leading off. Warowski now leading off. Nice and wide, stays in. Shahani now is trying to gain proximity, but is way behind. He's been left behind. Oh, cutting the circuit here is Warowski as he comes out towards the wall. Big mistake there in the first part of the run. Offline here, comes out to clipping point 5, a little bit off angle as well as he now finishes off strong. Shahani now leads off. Let's see. Initiation in. Little bit slow on the initiation. Does not get out to the outside of zone 1. Still struggling to get in there from Al-Hashani. He needs to get further out. Also mistake here. Also on the inside as Rohoski is now pushed to the outside of the circuit. Now, through their own smoke they come. We'll revisit it during the replay in a second. Al-Hashani is definitely struggling to get to the outside of that circuit. Either he's tried to grip the car up a little bit too much, but he's struggling big time. Rohoski takes the win. Al-Amri leads. Al-Balushi in chase. Al-Amri nice and wide on initiation. Stays absolutely as before on that outside line. Absolutely incredible. Transitions across. Al-Balushi is getting a little bit lost here. Losing angle. Al-Amri is on fire here as he transitions across through their own smoke out to clipping point 5 and zone 5. Halfway through the bend, still on the outside line, over the finish line, absolutely perfect. He needs to be on form here. Two cars leave the line at the same time. Balushi leading, Al-Amri chasing. Nice and wide from Balushi, leaving the outside of the track a little bit there, now coming back in again to zone 1. Transitions across, nice and deep as well. A lot of angle. As he almost over-rotates, Al-Balushi is still in lead, still in control as they go through their own smoke, out to zone 5. Could be a little bit deeper there. Look at Al-Amri. Look at how close he is throughout the entire run and across the finish line. And it is confirmed, the winner and going through to top 8 is Ahmed Al-Amri. Al-Shahani is going to lead us. And Al-Hosani is going to chase. Here we go, Al-Shahani. Al-Shahani is leading in, scrapes that wall, takes off a cookie light. That's going to hurt my feelings as he stays out wide. Al-Hosani is off track a little bit, but gets back on circuit again. Little bit tight on transition there. Would have liked to see that a little bit deeper, but now back on line through clip point 3 to the infield for clipping point 4. Just about gets it. A little bit late on transition to zone 5. But is now back online again. Slightly scrappy by both drivers, have to say. S14 versus S13. Al-Hosani initiates up against the wall into the first scoring zone. Stays nice and deep. As one wheel off there slightly. Al-Shahani also almost off track, but is following the lead line. A little bit better transition there for Al-Hosani as they are absolutely wheel to wheel. Incredible driving here from the two. How they did not hit, I do not know. Nice and deep transition there from Al-Hosani, and I think overall is running a better line. Oh! And there is absolutely contact there. And the winner is Al-Hosani in. And here we go. Drivers are off. Al-Hadidi to lead, Bagzi to chase. Hadidi, ooh, little bit of a correction on entry. Nice and wide now, though, as Al-Hadidi keeps that 350Z. Oh, as he straightens. Oh, we have drama already in the first battle of, and look at the damage in the front of Bagzi's PS13. Haitham Al-Hadidi has retired the car, which means by default, Bagzi is into the great top 4. The lights are green, off we go. Maxi to lead, Shirbat to chase, full throttle in, up against the wall. Maxi firmly, ooh, and a few wheels offline here as Shirbat is now really closing in on Maxi. Look at how close he is, literally inches away. Transitions across, back on his door again. Shirbat really here with a point to prove this run. Good line now as they go through their own smoke as Maxi goes out to zone 5. Again, dipping a wheel there. He's got to be careful that he doesn't do what Daham did and goes off as he comes across that finish line. Let's Shirbat to lead, Max Sheed to chase. Transition in, a little bit off the wall, but firmly inside that first zone and not going outside critically. Absolutely perfect. Nice line from Shirbat. Great proximity here from Maxid. Nice and wide transition as there's a big fire, an engine fire in Maxid's car. Absolute disaster for Ali Maxid. as mentioned before, issues there and mechanical difficulties with Maxi's car as there's fire inside the engine bay here. Ali Mustafa Maxid definitely is out of competition. That, don't know many things, but that thing I'm fairly certain of, that is a catastrophic failure of the engine. So Benedicta Sierba moves on to the top 4. That is going to be an interesting battle against Bagsy. Lights green. Here we go. Rorowski to lead. Ort chasing, full throttle. Transition in towards the wall. Nice and wide for both drivers. Clint Ort is absolutely on Rorowski's door. Rorowski is off track a little bit, but gets back in again to zone 1. As they transition across, Ort is absolutely right there. Keeping consistent proximity into clipping point 4, transitioning across the 5 again, nice and wide for both drivers. Rorowski really doing what he needs to do here. He stays nice and wide the entire circuit. Drivers are ready. Green to red. Ort sends it off, leads this run from Rorowski. Rorowski's right on the side of Ort. Nice and wide from Ort there as he transitions out. Stays a little bit off. It's very, very similar to Rorowski's first run, but stays wide now again. A little bit of a gap here as they go through that transition. And Ort with absolutely zero pressure almost in his tires in the back. Look at this. They go through their own smoke. Transitions out, gets that clipping point 4. Rorowski is basically nowhere to be seen, but is on the door of Ort. And the winner of the second battle, or third battle of the top 8 is Clint Ort. Here we go. Lights are green. Al-Amri leads. Hosseini to chase. Here we go. Nice and wide line in turn 1. Zone 1. Nice and strong for Al-Amri. Look at that outside line. Just dips maybe even a little bit of a tire over, but absolutely perfect. As Al-Hosseini goes too wide and makes a massive mistake here. Al-Amri going through his own smoke to the outside. Al-Hosseini is too far away. Massive mistake there on the transition. Almost going off circuit. Almost hitting that wall. Lights are green. Here we go. Al-Hosseini to lead Al-Amri. Oh, big aggressive transition there. But a long handbrake there from Al-Hosseini on the initiation. Judges won't like that. The outer zone 1 though is completely filled the entire time. Again, goes a little bit wide there. Al-Hosseini in the lead position as Al-Amri is just hanging back ever so slightly, doing what he needs to do. Oh, big straighten there from Al-Amri. Not what he needs to be doing. He just has to get it across the line. One more time. Lights are green. Off we go for the last battle of the top 8. Al-Amri leading, up against the wall. Very nice wide line here. Stays within the parameters of the circuit. Great lead line here. Al-Hosseini needs to get a little bit closer here now as he transitions a bit early. Gets caught up a small bit, but is now back on line again. Little bit of a gap between the drivers. Great lead line by Al-Amri as they go through their own smoke out until zone 5. Nice wide line from Al-Amri out to the final wall and across the finish line. Full throttle into turn 1. Here we go. Initiation. Very early for Al-Hosseini, but stays out wide. One wheel off already. One wheel stays off, but now is back into that zone 1. Not as wide as Al-Amri was previously. Transitions not too early. Very aggressive up against the wall. Great job by Al-Hosseini. Now, little bit of a bobble on clip point 4. Nice and wide out to 5. Wider than Al-Amri was. And now that right-hander at the finish. A little bit of a gap there. Al-Amri takes the win. Here we go. Sherba leading. Bagsy chasing. Bagsy on the back foot already. Trying to chase down Sherba. Big initiation by Sherba and nice and wide. Bagsy following suit. Over rotation there almost by Sherba, but nice and wide as he comes through the end of scoring zone 1. Transitions across to clip 2. Bagsy on the door of Sherba. Now losing a little bit of transition. A lot of angle by Sherba and pulling a gap still. Clearly with a lot of grip dial into that car. Good line from both drivers, but only now is Bagsy closing in on him. getting right on the door of Shirba. I think the advantage thus far is firmly in the side of Shirba. Shirba edging towards the line. Lights are green. Off we go. Bagsy to lead. Up the straight. Entering in Bagsy on that wall. Nice and wide line from Bagsy. Deep into that scoring zone 1. Ever so slightly over the line, but bang on the line now. Great proximity from Shirba though. Nice and close. Early transition from Shirba. Taking that inside line, but proximity is still there. Aggression is there. Bagsy cannot leave him at all. Shirba is still close. Putting a little bit of a gap now. Shirba strategically taking that inside line to finish tight. Oh, this is going to be close. Benedictus Shirba takes that win. Both drivers are off. Lights is green. Alhambra to lead. Ort in the chase position. Nice and wide as per usual from Alhambra. Stays nice and wide. Drops a wheel ever so slightly off the circuit, but nothing to write home about. Nice transition, nice and sharp. Over angle there, almost loses as he carries angle through the second wall in clip point 3. Past clipping point 2 through the smoke as he gets out to zone 5. Clint Ort completely lost in that smoke, but he's still there. He's still on. Here we go. Ort to lead. Alhambra to chase. Remember, Alhambri's first run, entry right on that wall, doubling an entry almost from Ort. Catches Alhambra a little bit off guard as he's now struggling to catch up again. Clint Ort has a couple of wheels off circuit there, it looked like. Oh, and a bit of a straight line there from Alhambra. Over angle there from Ort, but is still carrying that line through. A little bit deep there as well. Catches himself off guard. He's going to go a little bit wide here, a wheel off track. And Alhambra is making up again. Winner of the battle is Clint Ort, going through to the final. And we're off. Alhambra to lead. Bagsy to chase. Alhambra initiating a little bit hesitant up against the wall. Nice and wide now though. Sticking that rear tire all the way out on that white line, but not going over. Now transitioning into clipping point 2. All the way out to the wall as Bagsy now over-rotates and creates a gap between him and Alhambra as they go through their own smoke out to clipping point 5 and that final zone 5. Bagsy drops a wheel off track there as he is on the back foot here. A bit of a gap between the two drivers. Alhambra across the finish line. Okay, so as we set off for the final here of the round 1, we have learned what the technical infringement was. Each driver has a 5-minute rule, and only one 5-minute rule, as we've talked about this evening. They cannot use 2. Alhambra went to the pits to use a second 5-minute rule and has therefore been disqualified from the event. Now, on to the final. Shirba leading, Ort chasing down the front straight. Entering in, Shirba hard onto the wall. Little bit offline there, could have been deeper. Now a little bit wide, drops a wheel. Ort is right on his door as we go through the transition into clipping point 2. Severe angle here, dropping a wheel over is Shirba, but stays wide and stays on angle as they go through their own smoke in clipping point 4. Out wide for zone 5, all the way through. Shirba just about staying on the circuit. Ort is right on his door. And we're off. Lights are green down the main straight. Ort initiates up against the wall. Great initiation by Ort on that white line. Perfect initiation. Doesn't go off circuit. Now out to clipping point 2 as he transitions back there. Clipping point 2, nice and on line. Out to the wall. Perfect run from Ort. Nice proximity here from Shirba. But Ort's lead line is way better. Drops a little wheel, just like Shirba did. Nice and wide, nice and close from Shirba as they go across the finish line. We have Monster Energy, backed by Crusade. Third position of the Oman International Drift Championship, Steve Bagsy Biagioni in third position of the international, so beating Alhambra in the third-fourth playoff. Coming in second place, we have Benedictus Shirba, which means, of course, only one thing. The winner of the first round of Season 4 2022 of the Oman International Drift Championship is no other than from Holland in his S14 compact now, because the entire rear end has been removed 14 times. Clint Oort from Netherlands in his S14. Great job. Strong performance from Clint. Incredible driving throughout. Absolutely fantastic result for the international drivers. Great result. Incredible event. Thank you all very, very much for joining. Thank you very much for staying throughout the entire competition. We look forward to seeing and hearing from you at round 2 of the OIDC, the Oman International Drift Championship.